when we switched to automatic. Because he said to me after. Got it. Switching it the whole time, so I couldn't get it to go automatic.
So we were you ready? Yep. Good evening. I'd like to call to order the East Hempfield Township Traffic Commission, and I would ask if you would please join me by rising for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Now the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, our first item for business is the minutes from the 8/16/23 meeting. And Mr. Lefevre, I don't believe you were present.
I was not, sir.
Okay. So, Mr. Weaver, have you had a chance? Are you good with the minutes?
Yes, sir.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, motion by Mr. Weaver. I'll second that motion. All in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
Motion carries 2-0 with one abstention. Thank you. Up next, we have, I believe, the traffic studies. We're looking at, there's two here. The first one is going to be South Colebrook Road. And from what I see, that we appear to have an issue there.
The speed study that was done in September here was a follow-up to a speed study that was conducted in May. We made some signage improvements. We worked with Hempfield Township to on their end, push back reduced speed signs ahead so that the speed limit within East Hempfield was all legal 35 at the township line going southbound. So this was a follow-up after 4 months or so of improvements up there to see if any of the improvements have helped curb the speed. Unfortunately, the results are the same in September as they were in May. So we will continue our efforts and our enforcement up there, but realizing that we are aware this has been and will probably continue to be an area of which speed is a concern.
Do we have any other suggestions or ideas for that area?
We're taking a look at it. It would involve some alterations to the roadway, which involves cost. We might come back to you with something at some point
That any,
because of the level of
do you
enforcement.
get traffic from Roots? Colebrook? What, is it rush hour or?
Ru-
is there-
Yeah, rush hour is typically the high point there. I think one of the big issues is that north of our township border, it's a 55 zone. So when you are going from Landisville north, there isn't much residential there. It's just a few houses. The road is pretty wide open. So speed creeps up, and when people are coming into the township from north, not slowing down after the 55 up in Raffo and just kind of cruising right into our township, it unfortunately speeds in excess of 55, 60 miles an hour.
What improvements did we make there?
Sure. We increased the park, we worked with the Park Service, who has the junction trail that runs right there, which is part of the concern of the speed is the pedestrian traffic there.
Right.
We worked with them. They put 2 new signs up with basically advisory signs indicating that there's hikers up ahead. A resident along the roadway, their shrubbery was trimmed by our public works. The county also cut back trees along the creek to help increase the visibility in that area, as well as the speed reduction signs.
The speed reduction signs, were they in Raffo Township?
So if you were traveling from Raffo into East Hempfield going southbound, what we did is put in an advisory sign for the reduced speed limit further north in Raffo. What we had determined is that at the junction trail, if you're traveling southbound, the speed limit, because we have to give advisory signs and so much room, was actually at 55 if you were coming southbound, based on signage not being properly placed, or it was properly placed, but not giving enough room for the distance that's required for us to be able to enforce speed.
Right.
So we did our best to work with Raffo, get those signs pushed back so that when you're entering into East Hempfield, at the trail there, it is a 35 versus a 55.
Okay, so it's now enforceable going southbound.
Yes,
Okay, and it's always been enforceable going north.
yes.
Okay, and do we have the orange? And forgive me, it's
Mhm.
been a little bit since I've been out there. Do we have those orange placards on the 35-mile-an-hour zone?
We don't have the triangle or the squares on the top. I don't believe we do.
Can we do that?
Perry? I'll defer to him on that one.
I don't know if, I think that would be coming into the township is where you would put that on the 35. I don't know that you just put them on the regular 35s going, leaving the township. I don't
Agreed.
don't know if I've ever seen them, but I don't know if Raffo had put those on their signs, the 35 ahead type. I'd have to go look. I don't remember.
Is that something we can check and do?
Sure.
Okay. It just seems like a simple thing to get people's attention. So will we be doing more enforcement in the weeks to come?
Yeah, we have our message board up there right now,
Okay.
but we will continue to have this on a list of places for enforcement.
Is there any other discussion on that?
Chief, the speeders nonetheless southbound could be stopped, even though they would not be arrested. Is that so?
Right now, we're able to prosecute southbound as is. Where we run speed, typically in that area, we have ample room and are able to prosecute southbound as well as northbound.
But my thought is if they're stopped, they get the message, others get the message, and it might help.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Visibility.
Okay, so we'll continue to monitor that and look at other avenues for South Colebrook. Up next, we have Marietta Avenue and 2200 block. You had completed a speed study there.
We did.
And I'm sorry, before I get into that, is anybody here from Colebrook Road that wanted to speak to the Colebrook Road speed study? Anyone online? Okay. I'm sorry, Chief, go ahead.
That's good. Yes, we did a speed study, August 21st to the 27th on the 2200 block school lane of Marietta Avenue. We had average speed of 33 miles an hour, 85th percentile of 39 at this location at school lane.
Okay, and it looks like the enforceable violations would be under 1%.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is there anyone here who wanted to speak about the Marietta? If you could please come to the microphone and state your name. I think, are they both working? Okay.
Hello,
Yes.
my name is Gretchen Wendell. I'm at 2236 Marietta. I was here last meeting. My house got hit by a DHL truck and there's $98,000 worth of damage, as you guys know. I'm representing the neighborhood because a lot of people have kids and they can't come and they're babies. So we just wanted to be here to show support, follow through. There has been multiple accidents, unfortunately, like people hitting, the side. So maybe we're open to suggestions. The rumble strips on the side. I know there's some thought that may be loud, but it shouldn't be because no one should be hitting them. So, if they are hit, maybe it will deter people from going off the road.
And we're actually going to get into that a little bit
Okay.
later in the meeting. This was just really the
Okay.
information for the speed, just the speed study
Yes.
that we did.
And we'd like to push that forward to PennDOT if possible.
And we actually.
Or maybe it won't help because it's not very good, right?
So, right, we did have a staff meeting with PennDOT. We'll be discussing that here in
Oh.
a few minutes.
Okay,
This was just the speed studies that we had done since our prior meeting and
Okay.
just going over the results. So unfortunately, they did not yield results that would support lowering the speed limit in that area right now or making a drastic change from PennDOT's point of view. But we're going to get into that a little bit later as far as what some of our other options may be.
okay. Let me know if you need anything. I'm here to support.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
In regards to the Marietta Avenue speed study, is there any other comments or questions regarding that?
Del Rusak, 2013 Chapel Forge Drive. I have no understanding of the Marietta speed limit. I'm more concerned about Centerville, but that's not my concern right now. I know I see speed limit signs like that where you're monitoring people's speed. When does that radar pick up the speed that people are going at? Because a lot of times when I drive to, say Millersville and I'm on the Manor, so it's not your police, but it's the Manor Police. And they, a lot of times on Centerville Road will have the speed where you're seeing. You can see it from so far away that you can start slowing down so that by the time you register, you're registering however you want. I can register way below. I could keep going at the rate I'm going and be above. So my question is, how accurate can these be?
Okay,
Because
can I believe the study that we did was not a board indicating, the traffic board has the ability to display the speed.
but
and then
that's what I
also-
want to know. When does it pick up the people? Is it just a rumble strip or is it displaying it too? I've seen them on Centerville Road with Hempfield with a display. So not just Manor, I have seen Hempfield.
So the speed studies that were submitted that we're discussing here today are not based on data from that device. They're actually based on a device that you probably didn't even note in your travels. It's
That's
a
what I wanna know.
small little discrete box, like an OtterBox
Okay.
that's on a pole that does not show any type of speed limit, speeds of which vehicles are going. That's not what these speed
Okay.
studies.
All right, because I know
were
one
used,
was
so-
done Hempfield Centerville Road, but it was a big sign where you could monitor your speed.
We put those signs up regularly for educational purposes, but the data for the speed studies that are submitted to the traffic commission here are performed using a different device.
All right, that's all I want to know. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions just in reference to the speed study on Marietta? Okay,
Mr. Chairman, I had neglected to add the traffic report to your agenda. I did now, but maybe if Chief has any highlights that she'd like to
okay.
address there.
Chief, anything you want to?
Sure, we have a couple locations that been on our list for a while that we did do enforcement on. As a result of complaints, Stony Battery would be one of them. We had some efforts on Centerville Road over the last month, as well as Nisley Road and Marietta. So most of the roads that have been a hot topic here the past few months, we were able to have some visibility and enforcement in those areas.
Did you want to highlight Marietta Centerville Road?
Sure, more than happy to. Marietta Avenue, we had, in addition to the speed study that was submitted, we did do 2 NRAD details, which are speed-related enforcements. We did on opposite ends of the block in question, just because of the last month, we had a lot of enforcement within the 2300 block. So we did have a number of contacts, specifically the 2500 block, which is the area of Pin Oak, just west of the Roarstown vicinity there, which we had about 18 contacts in a few hours there as part of a grant-funded state enforcement effort, so. As far as Centerville Road, we had about 3 to 4 hours of time that officers were out and about specifically in this area, looking for a variety of different traffic infractions.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? So going to old business, we have 2 items under old business, that we have the truck route study and we have Marietta Avenue. We're going to start with the truck route study and, Mrs. Switzer, I'll turn this over to you.
So that's, the reviews on that are being completed. We do have a time frame at the October 18th Board of Supervisors meeting. It will be made into a public document for discussion by the Board of Supervisors.
Okay. And will we be discussing it at our October 18th meeting, or will we be displaying it to the public at our October 18th meeting?
Displaying to the public probably be a better description. Mr. Bauer with McMahon Associates will be present
Okay.
to review his study, which he prepared. So there's an understanding from the board and the public of
Will
what it
that be at the
contains.
Board of Supervisors or Traffic Commission?
Board of Supervisors.
Okay. Very good. I know we received that in our packets. It's over 1,100 pages and I have not opened page 1. So I don't know where the rest of the board is with it.
Most of it's data. It's actually about 15 pages long.
Okay.
So
Well, the 1,100 is intimidating, so. All right. So really right now, what we're looking to do is come back. It's going to be displayed, the data and the information will be displayed at the October 18th Board of Supervisors meeting. We'll have our traffic engineer to go over and answer questions and put on a presentation. So I do recognize some faces from Centerville Road. Are there any questions or? Yes, ma'am. If you could come to the microphone and please state your name.
Brenda Sanford, 1093 Chapel Forge Drive, and I'm right on the corner of Centerville and Chapel Forge. So what's kind of study are they doing?
So we did a comprehensive truck study. So we kind of have a little issue in our township with getting trucks north and south. We have,
They have no problem. They go past my house all night, all morning long. So there's no problem for them.
okay. Well, to make it enforceable for us to do anything, if we're going to make any changes and make it enforceable, we had to do this study that we did. And we made it into a comprehensive study because we wanted to involve West Hempfield as well, because they're part of it with Stony Battery Road as far as north and south traffic goes. So with this study, they're going to come back with some recommendations for us as far as, you know, what our traffic engineer recommends regarding trucks going north, south in the township and where we want them to go
That's
north
my
and south.
question. What is their study? Is somebody sitting out there? Because I don't see anybody around. So how are they getting this information from? Or are they sitting from one end of the block to the other end of the block?
I would say just give us time. And like I said, it's 1,100 pages of data. So the data came from somewhere. So you right now, you're ready to pepper us with questions and I haven't even looked at it yet. So give us till next month.
Okay.
I think we could say that it's been in the works for several months, if not longer.
Right.
All-terrain vehicle. Colleen Jacobson, 2009 Chapel Forge Drive. Yeah, that was my question. What's the beginning of the study and when did it end?
Ms. Switzer, do you, off the top of your head, have that?
well, the study was contracted with our traffic engineer. He did various studies throughout this time period,
What's like
tracking
when-
trucks.
What time period is that?
I couldn't tell you what it is.
I mean, he's going to be able to answer that.
Yes.
And I'm sure once we dive through the report, we'll be able to answer that too. But it's not just on Centerville Road. There's other roads that go north and south that we're taking a look at as well. Yes, ma'am.
Del Rusak, 2013 Chapel Forge Drive. And I have to tell you, I lived there when you're probably wondering, why'd you move there with all the trucks? Well, I lived there when that was a nice quiet road because it wasn't shored up to State Street. And my question is, when was the study, and that's something we need to look at, 24 hours? Because a lot of these truck barrel ass down that road, up and down, 10 o'clock at night, and it's not local traffic. So, and people say get pictures. Well, I'm out letting my dogs out. I don't have a camera with me. They go so fast. By the time I go in my house to get a picture, they're already down at State Street. So unless this study was done a 24-hour round-the-clock period,
It is.
it was?
Usually during a week period, which is how we do ours as well.
Okay, I'm just wondering because, and right now there's less trucks because they know that Centerville Road is being worked on, but that's not always the case. And, all right, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do we have anybody else in reference to the truck study? Okay, anyone online? Okay. So up next, we have the Marietta Avenue. We've had some residents come forward with concerns about repeat accidents in that location. What can we do? It is a state road. We did our own traffic study for speed, and you heard the results of that, and I'll just go over it again. The average speed in the 2200 block of Marietta Avenue was 33 miles per hour. It is posted at 35 miles per hour. The 85th percentile of traffic, is that those that are traveling above the posted speed limit?
85% of those people traveling are
Above the
traveling
speed
39.
limit, traveling above the speed limit or traveling at 39 miles per hour.
That would be
So-
one way of saying it, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And then from that, enforceable violations, and there's a certain limit over the speed limit before you can enforce, Chief. Is that fair to say?
That is fair to say.
Okay, so with that in mind, less than 1% of Marietta Avenue will be enforceable from a speed standpoint. So why that's important, two things. One of the questions that came up was, should we look at reducing the speed? And I'm not really convinced that speed's what's causing these accidents, more inattentive driving. And the second thing, what we try to do is, as you know, we don't have unlimited resources. So where do we deploy the resources that we do have? And one example would be, tonight, South Colebrook Road came up as where we do have a substantial issue with speeding. So, that's the main reason that we do these things. We did have a staff meeting with PennDOT, and in our packet, we got notes from that meeting. And I'm just going to summarize a little bit here. It seems that PennDOT is not really keen on reducing the speed, and after we did our study, I think that's probably fair on their part. I don't know that we want to push that. I think when we deal with PennDOT, we want to be shrewd in what we ask for to try to get the best results. So, in my view here right now is that, maybe we take that one off the table. If I understood, they're not thrilled with, but they would look at, and Ms. Schweitzer, correct me if I'm wrong on this, on the rumple strips on the side of the road.
Correct.
Is that correct?
But they have caution
Right,
that same as speed humps.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, very similar. Item there. Some other items, I guess, unfortunately, PennDOT resurfaced that road 7-8 years ago. It's not scheduled to be resurfaced for another 7 or 8 years, in which some improvements that could be made would be long-term improvements at that time. Okay, they did have some practical suggestions. I'm not sure where staff is on this with the crosswalks.
Yeah, we talked about crosswalks. The logical place would be Elizabeth Street. That sounds good on the surface, but then after sharing this with our traffic engineer, he had some concerns with putting a crosswalk there. It would have to have ADA accessibility. It would have to have 5-foot wide sidewalks for landing. And then also Diane Garber, our emergency management coordinator, had some concerns that putting a crosswalk there would encourage pedestrian traffic across Marietta, which is a very busy street. So I don't know if that is an answer to address a speeding problem, which doesn't seem to be as pronounced as
Okay.
we thought.
Another issue that was raised at I believe at our last traffic commission meeting had to do with unpermitted driveways, specifically one unpermitted driveway that they believe is unpermitted. PennDOT's response in that area, and again, I'm going to summarize it, please correct me if I'm wrong here, is need to be careful. Whatever we are to do in that area needs to be uniformed. So we can't pick out one person's driveway and go after them for being unpermitted and not do it all across the whole roadway. It's also going to be very difficult to prove, if I understand this correctly, there needs to be shown that their driveway has caused an accident. Did I read that correctly? Or as
That is a
traffic
safety
hazard?
concern.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a traffic hazard in terms of PennDOT. PennDOT wants traffic throwing through that intersection. And does this driveway cause a traffic hazard? It would be difficult to say, yes, it does.
So we would have to take a uniform look at all of them, not just one. And we would have to demonstrate the hazard that they would cause or the traffic hazard that they would create before PennDOT would take any action to begin with. And the action that they do take is very minimal to begin with. So it's not a lot of positive things for those that are here in dealing with PennDOT to get a result that we want. I do think maybe the rumple strips are worth pursuing. What does the rest of the board think?
Well, I noticed that, I guess it was PennDOT said that once you put the rumble strips, they are hard to remove. And we've had experience with trying things like speed bumps where some of the neighbors wanted them and then other neighbors didn't want them. So I thought my fear, I guess, would be that we put them in and then get a lot of complaints of the noise. But as someone tonight pointed out, if they are hitting them, then there's a reason and they're going off the road. So hopefully there won't be a lot of noise and they might actually be a safety, a benefit. So I guess I'm on the fence a little.
Just expanding a bit on what you're saying. Yeah, the typical scenario would be that they're moving off the road, so they're going to hit them.
Yeah.
We've had people using speed humps as launching pads.
Yeah.
So you'll probably have vehicles purposely going over those things.
Yeah, I mean, a speed bump you can't avoid because it's right there in the road,
Right.
whereas the rumble strips are on the edge, and if you are hitting them, then there's a problem, kind of. Unless
You
you're
would
just
assume so.
passing someone, but
So,
that's a good point.
yeah, I get that. I think we would have to weigh, do we want, young drivers looking for a
Motorcycles.
little mischief? Do they go over the rumble strips in the middle of the night to cause aggravation for the neighbors possibly? But I do think it's something that we should consider. Ms. LaFever, you have any thoughts?
Same old problem.
Any thoughts from the residents here that are here for that particular issue for the accidents in the Marietta, Rohrstown area? Again, I hate to make you come up, we just need it for the minutes. That's okay.
Gretchen Wendell, 2236 Marietta. I would just like to know more about the rumble strips, maybe from the police officer. Like do they work at all? You know, I'm not familiar. I'm hearing what you say, which is interesting. I don't want any teenagers going off. That's worse. It could hit a house, you know, so. Couple of things. One, I'd love to hear from you. Two, can I ask the neighbors and can we talk about it and see
Sure.
how they feel?
Sure.
And then maybe, are there any people that have rumble strips around here that we can ask them to see if they're really hearing them and if they work, or I can research too, so.
So typically you see them on, for example, they'll be on a divided highway like Route 30, Route 283. When you cross over, that's the sound that you hear. That's essentially what you would be hearing at night. So that the issue is to somebody, and I don't know that it would be a big issue. It has the potential to be, where kids are, want to aggravate a particular neighbor, or somebody wants to, cause a little mischief, that they would ride on them to make the noise. That's where I think you would come into an issue, but it could be a safety check where somebody's not paying attention and they hit the rumble strip and it causes them to become alert.
Are the rumble strips in the middle of the road or on the side? They're on the
They're on the
side.
side.
Yeah, on the side. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Well, we'll just keep talking about it, I guess.
Okay.
And then thank you. If you have any insight.
My only comment would be in that area, the rumble strips are the shoulder is pretty tight from the sidewalk to that white line where vehicles are parking, which is probably 90% of the accidents that have been occurring are hitting parked vehicles or an occasional mailbox, something to that sort. So my fear would be that it really isn't going to prevent too many accidents, because by the time somebody already hits that rumble strip, they're probably within a foot of a vehicle that's parked on the shoulder of the road, and most likely they're not going to be able to correct their driving actions in time before hitting a car or a mailbox anyways, but that's off the top of my head. My concern of doing that. Also, I would highly suggest checking with the residents, because there undoubtedly will be noise. A lot of the houses are pretty close to the roadway. I don't know where bedrooms are logistically located. But there undeniably is going to be sound with the rumble strips, and certainly don't want to cause a quality of life issue for the entire block as a result. If, bedrooms are right along Marietta Avenue, that certainly is going to cause disruption during sleep.
Any other questions or comments in reference to the Marietta Avenue? Okay. Is there any new business tonight from the board?
Not for me.
Is there any public comment for a non-agenda item? Is anybody here that would like to speak about something? Yes, ma'am.
I heard it was mentioned in the past or discussed in the past, the speed limit being raised on Central. It's 25 from Marietta to around the school, just past, just before Note Road turns to 35. Well, people take that 35 and they make it 50. If you pull out heading south, going up Chapel Porch to Central Road, you can look to the right to the hill, there's no one there. Before you know it, they're right on your front. And they're right on top of you. There's no reason to come up.
Yeah,
so fast.
I'm not aware of anybody talking about increasing the speed. I think we did have discussion about decreasing the speed on parts of Centerville Road.
Somewhere just a couple months back that it was discussed, somebody mentioned maybe just increase it, we wouldn't have a problem. I say no, don't increase it. I'd like to see 25 the whole way through. But
Yeah, I don't, to my knowledge, and correct me staff if I'm wrong, are we looking to in any way increase the speed at Centerville Road? So I'm not quite sure where that came from, if it was a misprint or something in the minutes or an offhanded comment from somebody, but
I'm responsible for saying make it 25 the whole way, whether
Right.
that was in an open meeting or privately.
25 the whole way, I agree with you.
Yeah.
so but that's going the other way. That's going the reduction way, not the
On
increase.
Knoll Drive, we talked about there's a section that's 35 before the traffic circle. I think it's Knoll Drive. And then there's a section of 25 after the traffic circle, and we did talk about maybe making that all 35. That's the only thing I remember of talking about raising a speed limit.
Yeah. Yeah, so just make sure we get that rumor put to bed. We're not looking to raise the speed limit on Centerville Road. Okay, thank you.
It must have been an offhand comment that actually was taken on the mic and it was in your video. So I want to say it was last fall, or it might have been the summer of last year, but it was definitely one of you, or if we've changed boards, somebody said, oh, we should just put it to 45, which scared the crap out of all of us because as I
Well-
said, I've been living there for 26 years and I used to be able to pull out of Chapel Forge easily. Now it is a scary situation because as she said, you look, you go to pull out, somebody's right on your butt. And it doesn't matter if they're coming from State Street or if they're coming from Knoll Road, they are flying.
Mhm.
And so it's scary. So I'm more the 25 all the way. You got me. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello, I'm Ashley LeClaire, resident at 1370 Greystone Road, and new to the meetings. And I want to just say we're here, and I'm here on behalf of many families on our road, which is near Roots. We have a concern for the speeding cars and the reckless drivers. We have witnessed many speeding cars speeding to beat the train at the crossing when crossing lights are going. We have witnessed cars accelerating past the school bus with lights on and beeping. And that bus is bus number 10, if you want to know. Not to mention the cars passing the Amish buggies and whatnot, as well as finding out as a new resident that our neighbor Betty Del Monte lost her husband due to a TBI accident being hit while getting his mail. And that just hit my chord because unfortunately, 2 weeks ago, a car hit a tree near the mailbox where I put my daughter back there to wait for me to get the mail. Freaked me out. Speed limit's 35. I do know somebody in a police vehicle saw that it was down. They didn't stop, and that's okay. I'm sure there's a lot going on. But we would like to ask the traffic committee to do a survey, similar to like what you guys were talking about with Colebrook Road. We have lots of kids, 7 kids amongst 3 houses, and then there's more houses. I would say probably 5 to 7 more. Yeah, and Roots days, whether it's a Tuesday or Saturday, it's insane. And I'm all about 25. 25, I'm slow. Let's slow down, people. It's too fast. So, yeah, so I'm just, any questions?
Chief, are you,
I'm pulling up some data. If you give me just a moment, Michael,
Sure.
having some trouble loading.
Yeah, I was also able, while she's pulling up data, doing a little bit of background, I looked up the Pennsylvania crash information tool. We're close to the intersection at Main and 72 in Greystone, where a family lost 2 of their children. And I know that had been in the process of 2022, but there were 67 in 2011 to 2021. There were 67 accidents just at that light. And I'm not even asking about that light, but that's not that far from us. And people fly to turn left to go towards the quarry. It's just, yeah. And then a lot of the big trucks too. So speed humps, I guess kids like to run over them now fast. Why would you do that and bottom out your car? I mean, how much money does your parents have? I hope people are
Well-
listening to this online.
no, speed humps create a specific problem for us in that they have to be per regulation. And a lot of times they're not as severe as what, say, you would want. And they don't really serve the purpose that you want to slow down traffic.
Yeah.
People just, sort of fly over them. They do also create a noise issue for neighbors. So what we found is, and we've done this in several places, that, we put them in, and then the neighbors come out and force complaining about them. They're the ones that are being the most impacted by it. And they're not the ones in their minds that are speeding.
Mhm.
And it's, that's what we were referring to as,
Yeah,
every cause has a reaction, and we just need to be careful in
Proactive.
what we do.
yeah. Understandable. Thank you. I appreciate being heard.
Sure. And actually, just hold on a
Yeah.
minute.
I do have some data. Greystone Road has come up a number of times for the past few years. We do go up and do speed studies. We do some enforcement efforts up there. I was aware that you called it into the township this week. We have an officer that moves our speeds, a big trailer that we put out and about and advise people of speed. We're planning on putting that out tomorrow on Greystone. Are we able to put it in your yard while I have you? And I'm
Absolutely.
sorry, what's your house number again?
1370 Greystone Road.
Excellent. So in 2021, 2022, we did do speed studies on the 1100 block, which obviously is a little bit 2 blocks from you, but more towards Roots Landisville area would be the 1100 block. We're showing the average speeds of 37, 38 miles an hour with what we consider the 85th percentile being 43 both times. So we will certainly put this on our list to get another speed study done after we have the board up there for a little bit and continue some enforcement, so
Yeah.
on and so forth. So, and I'm sorry to ask you to repeat yourself again, but
Ashley?
yeah, I'm actually not
Oh.
overly familiar with the accident that you're referring to. So could you provide me with the
Yes.
name again? I'm not aware in my time here of this
Betty,
accident.
her name's Betty, Betty, Del Monte, DLMOTTE. She is 2 houses down, which would be, do you know her address?
Isn't there the rail crossing?
I'm more closer to the rail crossing. She would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th house from the rail crossing.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know roughly when that alleged
20, would I say 2016-ish? 2016-ish?
Do Lefevre neighbors?
They may have been, and then they
It's vacant right now.
Manheim, PA.
across, so the Falks live next door to me and they have a pool. Then Betty lives next door, and I guess a car also, this is another incident, had hit the telephone pole on the Falks address, which is next door to me. And it fell on a car. That year, I'm not sure what that year was. Yeah.
Okay.
But I can email, go to the doors and ask and get a list if you'd
Okay.
like. I don't mind.
I'm specifically curious about Betty's because
Yes.
I would know of that one and I'm not familiar with that. So I want to do a little research to,
Yeah, yeah.
in regards to that.
Yeah.
All right.
So, thank you.
Thank you, Chief, and thank you for bringing it to our attention. Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to?
Hi, I'm Lorraine Rivera and I live across the street. I'm 1357 Greystone. And also just to piggyback off of the Greystone speeding, there's also motorcycles that I don't think I'm exaggerating. They go like 80. It's so bad. And we have kids that, I have a 2-year-old and my biggest fear is I take my eye on her for a second and one of these days, she'll get hit or something. You know what I mean? They just fly. And I think my husband and I, we try to get the license plate, but they're going so fast that we can't even see what the license plate is. It's awful. And it's always the same motorcyclist too. It's always 2 or 3 of them that just really early in the morning and by sunset. It's I guess they're going to work and coming back. I don't know if they live near, but the motorcycles, that's a big issue too, that I'm hoping we can try to figure something out. Maybe even put I don't know how expensive it would be to put a speed bump, right in front of Ashley's house would be great. So then if you want to go speed, go ahead.
All right.
To both of you, if I may, are we able to use your driveways
Yep.
to do some enforcement? One of the things we have up there restricting us a little bit is we really have one spot
We have a really
That's-
big driveway, so you
that's-
can pull in there whenever you want.
And go with your door number again for me.
1357 Greystone Road.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes.
Thank you.
Susan Richards, who has a very large driveway. Stated tonight, who may fit in the driveway as well, but yeah.
Thank you. Do we have any other comments or concerns for this evening? Questions? Okay, any on Zoom? Okay. Well, then, hearing none, we're going to adjourn tonight's meeting at 6:45. We will come back tonight at 7 PM for the East Hempfield Township Board of Supervisors meeting. Thank you.
All the time, I do it. So that streetscape in Marietta, a lot of money.
Yes, it would.
Except for the borough did. Done that, probably did it.
If there's some kind of